Last time on Journey to the West, our heroes lost Tripitaka to the icy machinations of an insidious weather-controlling demon, but the timely arrival of an uncharacteristically unkempt Kuan Yin tipped the scales in their favor and revealed the demon's true nature as her beloved pet goldfish. A real thing that I swear happened. With Tripitaka rescued once more, our heroes soon found themselves in deeper danger when a powerful mountain demon captured all but Sun Wukong and disarmed the mighty Monkey King with Lao Tzu's diamond snare. With the help of old friends and older enemies, the Monkey King was able to defeat the demon, retrieve the stolen weapons, and rescue his companions so they could once more continue their journey to the west. So our heroes are trekking westward, the seasons are changing, and the frigid chill of winter has given way to the pleasant florals of early spring. And all things considered, this leg of the trip has been surprisingly uneventful. No demons, no bandits, no kidnappings, just a nice, pleasant, scenic filler arc. But our heroes face sudden adversity when the way is barred by a small, clear freshwater brook. How will our heroes possibly overcome these insurmountable odds? Fortunately, this peaceful little brook comes with a scenic little boat that can take them across. But we can't be too careful. Maybe the boatman is evil. Nope, as it turns out, the boatman is a friendly old boat woman who's more than happy to take them across the river with absolutely no nefariousness or kidnappings involved. Monkey is a little confused as to why a woman is doing what is typically a man's job, which the boat woman finds funny but doesn't explain. So the gang crosses the river without incident, pays the ferry woman, and prepares to move on. But first, oh no! Horror of horrors! Tripitaka is thirsty. So he has Pigsy get some of that tasty river water for him. Now, PSA, drinking river water is typically a bad idea since untreated water can make you sick. And sure enough, within a few minutes, Tripitaka and Pigsy both start feeling pretty lousy. The gang spot a village in the distance and hoof it over there to look for help, and Monkey flags down an old lady to ask her for medicine for his river water drinking buddies and their sore tum-tums. Unexpectedly, the old lady's like, hold on. Your men drank the river water. From that river? Yes? And they're both men. Last time I checked. Ooh, the girls are gonna love this. Instead of helping, a whole crowd of women forms to spectate Tripitaka and Pigsy's strange affliction, all of whom seem to find this situation utterly hilarious. Monkey's usually a big fan of schadenfreude and shenanigans, but even he's got his limits, and he grabs the old lady and demands an explanation. The old woman tells him that the boys have arrived at the outskirts of the Western Kingdom of Women, an entire empire populated solely by women. Women do all the jobs, fill every social and political role, they're ruled by an empress instead of an emperor, and because there are no men, when a woman wants to have a child, she doesn't go about this the traditional way. Instead, she drinks from the Child and Mother Stream, a magical river that makes anyone who drinks from it pregnant. And where exactly is the Child and Mother Stream located? Oh, you know, about 20 feet that way. That's why the ladies think Tripitaka and Pigsy's situation is so hilarious, and Monkey is fully inclined to agree. Tripitaka and Pigsy are, of course, very distraught, especially Pigsy, but Sandy gently cautions him that stress will hurt the baby. Tripitaka is obviously emotionally unprepared to be a single parent, and more importantly, literally physically can't do it, and asks if there's any way for them to get unpregnant, and the woman tells him that there's no over-the-counter option that'll work on magic river pregnancies, but there is a way. They just need to go to Male Undoing Mountain, enter the Child Destruction Cave, and drink the magic water from the Baby Begone stream. However, this isn't as easy as it sounds, and it doesn't sound all that easy. See, it's recently gotten a lot harder to access this stream because a Taoist called the True Immortal Compliant has taken over the mountain and now controls the water, and has been charging the women exorbitant prices for the tiniest glass of the stuff. There's no way a bunch of mendicant monks will be able to front the copay. This would be a big problem if Monkey was planning on paying for anything ever in his entire life. He leaves Sandy in charge and flies off to Male Undoing Mountain to scope out the sitch. He runs into a Taoist disciple who tells him there's no way his master will give him the water for free, and Monkey suggests he tell his master that Sun Wukong is here to see if that changes his mind. This does in fact change his mind, but probably not in the direction Monkey wanted it to. As it turns out, the Immortal is the older brother of the Bull Demon King and the uncle to Red Boy, and he's not too pleased about how Monkey got his precious nephew in trouble with the bureaucracy of heaven. You know how this song and dance goes. The Immortal pulls out a weapon, in this case a gnarly hook, and they fight for a little while until Monkey starts winning and the Immortal retreats back to the well. Now, while the Immortal can't beat Monkey, he is frustratingly good at keeping him away from the water, and in the ensuing scrap, Monkey ends up fumbling the bucket and dropping it down the well. With no way to get the water now, Monkey heads back to the group to figure out a plan B. Okay, so Monkey's new plan is that he'll distract the Immortal while Sandy goes and gets the water. This plan does require leaving Tripitaka and Pigsy in the care of the old woman and her family, but she's pretty cool about it and promises not to hurt them. Monkey's like, look, no offense intended, but I kind of don't think you're capable of hurting literally any of us. And she's like, oh, is that how you think this place works? Listen, son, you're all just lucky we're all too old to be interested in men anymore. If the young ladies around here had found you, you'd be having a much harder time going anywhere. With that tasty little bit of foreshadowing dropped, Monkey and Sandy head back to the mountain, and Monkey taunts the Immortal to lure him out. The disciple hypes the Immortal up and tells him Monkey doesn't stand a chance of beating him, and with that optimistic forecast ringing in his ears, the Immortal goes out to fight. While Monkey keeps him busy, Sandy heads for the well with a brand new bucket, and when the disciple tries to block the way, Sandy breaks his arm. Hey, it was the nicer option than killing him. He's reformed, remember? Sandy gets the water without too much trouble and calls for Monkey, who stops pretending like this is anywhere near a fair fight and blocks the Immortal's hook. Since the Immortal hasn't really done anything wrong except blackmailing an entire community of women by holding their reproductive rights hostage, and Monkey still has respect for his brother the Bull Demon King, he just gives him a very stern warning to stop blackmailing people for the water and turns to leave. Obviously, the Immortal's none too pleased about this and goes for a backstab, so Monkey sweeps the leg, grabs his hook, and snaps it in half. Thoroughly cowed, the Immortal gives up, and Monkey and Sandy head back. Tripitaka and Pigsy drink the water, and one very alarming bowel movement later, are declared fully pregnancy-free. They leave the rest of the water with the old lady who helped them, who says this precious commodity will help cover the cost of her funeral. And with that delightful business sorted out, our heroes are all set to continue their journey to the west, though I can't imagine Tripitaka is too happy with the concept of riding a horse right now. Sandy cautions them to take it easy since new mothers are very delicate, officially confirming his status as the funniest person alive. So the gang continues westward and eventually reach a massive city, evidently the capital of the Kingdom of Women. Tripitaka tells the gang to be on their best behavior and to control themselves, which turns out to be a bit of a misread since the minute they walk through the gates, they're swarmed by a mob of young women who've heard about this men thing and are very curious to learn more. Monkey has Pigsy scare them off with his gross monster face, but even that doesn't dissuade them completely since Tripitaka is evidently a very pretty man. Monkey and Sandy crank up the scare factor too, which, let's be honest, can't possibly work on all of these ladies, but it keeps the mob off them enough for them to make it through to a city official who guides them to a reception house and tells them they'll need to be announced to the throne and have their papers certified before they're allowed through the city. The gang is served a nice hot meal by a house full of beautiful women, and meanwhile, the official legs it back to the palace to tell the queen what's going on. Now, the queen is very happy to hear about these visitors in her fine city because she happens to know that Tripitaka is basically blood brothers with the Tang Emperor, and if she wants to consolidate her power and guarantee the continuation of her family line, she can do that very effectively by marrying Tripitaka. The official tells her that while Tripitaka is indeed a legit snack, his 3 disciples are a lot more spicy. The queen doesn't mind letting the disciples continue their journey westward, but their oh-so-juicy master will be staying with her. While the queen gets a matchmaker on the horn, the official heads back to give Tripitaka the good news. Speaking of whom, Tripitaka and the gang are enjoying their meal when they hear that the Grand Preceptor wants a word with them, which has Tripitaka a little confused until Monkey nonchalantly says the queen probably wants to marry him. Tripitaka unsurprisingly panics, but Monkey tells him that if marriage is on the table, Tripitaka should say yes and then let Monkey handle everything. Sure enough, the Preceptor heads in with the queen's proposal, offering to make Tripitaka the queen's royal consort with the entire wealth of the kingdom as his dowry. The disciples will obviously be allowed to continue their journey and get to the Thunderclap Monastery on their own time, which means this technically wouldn't even mean giving up the quest. Tripitaka is dead silent, but Pigsy announces that there's no way Tripitaka would ever agree to that, which is why the queen should ask him instead. Tripitaka asks Monkey what he thinks, and Monkey's like, honestly dude, sounds like a pretty sweet deal. The Preceptor heads off to make the arrangements, and Tripitaka immediately grabs Monkey by the lapels and asks him what the hell he thinks he's doing. Tripitaka can't get married, he's a Buddhist monk. A really devoted one. This is terrible. Monkey tells him to chill out and points out that turning the queen down flat was never going to work out well for them. The people of this kingdom are humans, innocent ones. If they had to fight them, they'd obviously win, but they'd be killing innocent people in the process, something Tripitaka has historically frowned upon. Tripitaka admits he didn't think of that, and Monkey lays out his cunning alternative plan, a husband heist. They're gonna go through with the wedding, throw a huge banquet, get all their paperwork in order, and then when Tripitaka tearfully sees them off at the edge of the city, Monkey will use his magic to freeze everyone for a whole day while they book it off into the sunset. Not a bad plan, all things considered. Meanwhile, the queen hears her proposal's been accepted and piles into her royal carriage to meet her future boo. She finds Tripitaka just as pretty as she'd hoped for, despite him being too flustered to speak, and she invites him into the carriage to head for the wedding hall. Tripitaka pretends to be totally cool with this, even though all he wants is to be a good Buddhist and get some scriptures, dang it. So the gang head for the wedding hall and enjoy the beautiful and ornate wedding party, and at Tripitaka's request, the queen recertifies their paperwork and agrees to wait until tomorrow to officially put him on the throne. The wedding party wraps up and the plan rolls into its final stages. Tripitaka politely asks if he can see his disciples off one final time, and the queen obviously agrees, and they pile into the chariot to see them off at the edge of town, followed by a massive mob of beautiful young women. When Tripitaka steps out of the carriage to say his goodbyes, he drops the pretenses and very gently asks the queen to let him continue on his journey. The queen is very upset about him suddenly changing his mind, but Pigsy scares her back, and it looks like the gang is going to manage to leave without anything worse than a broken heart, until a girl sprints out of the crowd, tells Tripitaka he should try boning her instead, grabs him, and vanishes in a cyclone. Finally, a demon showed up! I was starting to get worried! Monkey freaks out and blasts off to look for Tripitaka, which has the unexpected side effect of giving the queen closure, since she didn't realize these monks could, like, fly and stuff. Her officials conclude that Tripitaka and his disciples were so dang Buddhist that her marriage scheme was never going to break his iron will, and the queen and her court head back to the palace, dejected but recovering. And meanwhile, the gang chase the cyclone until it disappears into a standard-issue demon mountain lair. Pigsy wants to kick in the door, but Monkey wants to scout first to make sure it's the right door, so he turns into a bee and sneaks in. He finds a surprisingly beautiful flower field with a female demon chilling in it, attended by young women serving her a pleasant meal of red bean buns and also human flesh buns. The attendants also bring in Tripitaka, and the demoness pleasantly offers him a bun. Tripitaka is very aware that this situation is a lot more dangerous than his last unwilling marriage, so he plays it safe and politely turns down the human bun on the grounds that he's vegetarian, but accepts the red bean bun and makes polite conversation while he waits for the gang to come rescue him. The demoness makes some very inappropriate jokes that Tripitaka is too much of a soft boy to get, but Monkey is infuriated by her lascivious puns and attacks. The attendants bundle Tripitaka away while the demoness whips out a trident and clashes with Monkey. The battle ends up taking them straight out the door and down the mountain, at which point Sandy and Pigsy both join in, which unexpectedly does not help, as the demoness whips out 2 more tridents and boasts that while Monkey might not recognize her, the Buddha himself knows and fears her. With that, she jumps into the air and stabs down with something Monkey can't quite make out because he's a little too distracted by the horrible blinding pain. With Monkey incapacitated, the fight turns very quickly, and the gang books it while the demoness heads back into the mountain for the night. Monkey has no idea what she hit him with that could have actually hurt him because his skull turned indestructible about 3 immortalities ago, but whatever it was, he's in no position to fight, so they rest for the night and hope they can figure something out in the morning. Meanwhile, the demoness sets her sights on seducing Tripitaka, which, as previously established, is a losing battle even in ideal circumstances. Tripitaka politely but firmly turns her down for hours before she snaps and has her minions tie him up and get him out of her sight. The next morning, Monkey's feeling way better, so he sneaks into the cave to see how Tripitaka's doing, finding him very disgruntled but thoroughly unboned. Tripitaka accidentally wakes up the demoness by loudly declaring that Monkey needs to rescue him right this minute because he's totally uninterested in boning anyone and the only thing he cares about is getting those scriptures. That means it's about fight o'clock, so Monkey zips out of the cave and Pigsy smashes the door in. They fight for a while before the demoness whacks Pigsy in the face with that mysterious weapon and puts him out of commission. She heads back inside to stew while Monkey and Sandy try to figure out their next move. They're not having that much luck fighting the demon because they're really not even sure what she is. But luckily, Monkey spots an unassuming old lady nearby who's positively radiant with auspicious light and realizes Kuan Yin must have gotten impatient and come by to see what the holdup was. Kuan Yin reveals herself and explains that the demoness is actually a scorpion. The tridents she uses are her claws, and the mysterious weapon that keeps taking them out is her stinger tail, loaded with a seriously potent poison. She used to listen in on Buddha's lectures until one day she got snippy, stung his hand, and ran, hence why even the Buddha fears her. Kuan Yin also says she can't help them directly, but she knows who can, and points Monkey in the direction of Star-Lord Mao, the spirit of one of the 28 lunar mansions corresponding to the Pleiades. Kuan Yin pieces out, and Monkey zips up to heaven to track down Star-Lord Mao, bouncing around a bit before he eventually finds him. Monkey explains the situation, and Star-Lord Mao declares there's no time to waste on pleasantries, and they book it back to the mountain. Star-Lord Mao magically cures the lingering effects of the scorpion demon's poison, so Monkey and Pigsy are back in fighting form and smash down the door again to lure out the demoness, which is when Star-Lord Mao reveals his true form in all his divine glory as a 7-foot chicken. Huh. Star-Lord Mao, now a chicken, crows twice, transforming the demoness back to her true scorpion form and paralyzing her, which lets Pigsy kill her without too much trouble. Star-Lord Mao beams back up to heaven and the gang traipse into the cave to rescue Tripitaka, and the demon's attendants, who it turns out were all kidnapped girls from the Kingdom of Women. They return the kidnapped women to their homes before getting back on the road and setting off once more on their journey to the west. Our heroes have overcome another obstacle, but the way is only getting more treacherous. Will the Monkey King's strength be enough to protect Tripitaka from what lies ahead? Find out next time on Journey to the West.